Yeah, very big welcome to you, my dear Scorpio. So you get the first reading, Sun in Gemini, the Lovers. And the Lovers is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the information, is also the language. And so there is going to be a message hopefully coming through Mercury. I am going to pick a special deck for Mercury. So this month, Mercury, the magician, is gonna be the information, is gonna be the energy that we're looking deeper in. So here the union between the masculine and the feminine is important, and of course here king pigeon pose is the most difficult position here in yoga, reaching back to the feet, because the shoulders and the arms and the hands are connected with Gemini, and she is holding on here to him, and he's the dark, and it's not her who is the dark, she's the dark aspect here, right? And so it's very interesting the way they did this card. You are then here, of course, death, and Hermann Handel is the deck that I dedicated to you, and death is Pluto, and Pluto rules the shadow side but also the mystical side, and that's what the transformation is all about, right? The number 13, we have the 10 and the 3 here, and when we calculate it together we get a 4. And the 4 is the Empress, so we can, when we understand the Empress and the Wheel of Fortune together, we can create new leadership, right? And so here the yoga position for you is, of course, Scorpio pose, and in that the liberation is happening in our mind. And we see he's looking to the left. You are now getting the reading again to the left, because in the last reading you had Scorpio full moon and Taurus sun giving you the light and the message. This full moon is highlighting the radical acceptance of yourself. And so now we read back to the new moon again. We go to the left. You went 6 months to the right, and now you have to find yourself again. You have to find this radical acceptance again, and that's what we're gonna do. In Hermann Handel, we see the Lovers like this, and it's a very beautiful card. There's a lot of deep symbolism in there, and so we're gonna have a look at that as well. You are in the Hermann Handel deck Odin, who is hanging on the tree of life and pointing at the rune alphabet. Is your birthday between October 13 and November 12, then this is your court card. And of course, as Scorpio, you are the mystic, and in that mystical energy you are the 8th house of transformation and secrets. And so we see the whale that goes in the deepest ocean, and that's what you are as a water sign. You go the deepest ocean, right? And so it is clear that we are gonna feel, when the moon is in Scorpio, we feel sometimes emotionally quite overwhelmed. Now for Mercury, for the magician, we pick here the Grand Eteia deck, and this is the Egyptian Gypsy Tarot. And for me, the magician is a gypsy, and so we are gonna look what this deck is bringing. And I never used it. It's quite new, so it doesn't want to fold into each other. It's giving me a little bit of a hard time. and so one just fell over. And so here is the pleasant girl, the number 70. So let's have a look what the pleasant girl is wanting to tell you. And I don't know what the pleasant girl means. We have the number 70 here in the corner. The 7 is the emotional intelligence, the chariot, that I'm going out and I have learned what I need to learn. And so the 0, of course, is the Fool. And the 70 is the 8 of Pentacles. I find them very interesting, right? Because if they come up like this, it's like there is another picture in the corner. And so it came up right. And this is the one that is important to see. And it says this card represents a pleasant and friendly young girl, and it can represent a very mean person. Very interesting, right? Okay, so we have the 8 of Pentacles, and the 8 of Pentacles is Sun in Virgo. And so here the Sun in Virgo means there is a richness, there is also something that you learned, right? Because in that richness we have worked hard to be a master. And so there is this square of the 8. There's one coin missing in the center, and we have this yellow square here. Means, of course, the opposite, right? Which is avarice. And avarice means that you are, you holding on to the money, and you are wanting money that is not good money, right? And so it came up this way, and so we're gonna see what the 70 continues to tell you, and we begin the reading. So the Fool is saying through Uranus that here comes you as a young person. You are ready to go emotionally back to the new moon, back to yourself. The path is laid out, right? Here are all 3 water signs, which is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. But this is you. You have now learned how the moon is functioning, and you know, last time in Scorpio full moon, now for 6 months, you will go back to the new moon, and you are ready. And we will read to the left. Then speaks the Magician. The Magician brings the Serpent, and the Serpent is the number 46. So here we have the Emperor and the Lovers. And you, when we calculate the 13 together, we get the 4. And of course the Lovers are here through the Sun. And the sexual energy that you are most prone of, because your body part are the sex organs, are letting you know that you need to observe and watch how this sexual energy is actually creating something in you, right? That is like maybe offering now true love, because this is the number 3, and here comes the 10. So there is a 13 right next to each other again. But the 10 and the 1 is the 11, and the 11 is the inner teacher. So learn to adapt to the sexual energy of the Serpent. And you see that one head goes down here and one head goes up, and at the tail they're intertwined. In the center of the card they're intertwined. And so I can also, of course, make here a 47. Then you again have the 7 here of the gentle or pleasant girl, right? The Eight of Pentacles. And the Eight is, of course, always the infinite knowledge about how we make money. And then here the same, the 7 and the 4 is the 11. The 11 is bringing you here the inner wisdom, the inner teacher that knows through the magician what to do with this creativity, what to do with this sexual energy, because I wanted to see what is coming here, and the 6 of Wands are coming. And look at this, she's like wide-legged here, and the 6 of Wands is actually Jupiter in Leo, and Jupiter is the expansion. There's a sexual expansion that is letting you know that the 6-6 portal here is letting you know 2 times the 6 is, yes, there is something, right? And so maybe we calculate then the 6-6, 2 times the 6, and the one with the 4 is the 5, is the Hierophant, is the information through Venus, right? Hierophant is ruled by Venus, by beauty, by desire, and there is a certain desire to open yourself completely. Now I can also add a 1 to the 6th, and we have a 7 here, and all together we get the 17 and the 8 left. The 8, the infinite spiral, the 8 of Pentacles, right? So there is something talking, and we're gonna continue and see what else is coming up here, because remember, Jupiter is that desire to be grand, to be out there, and Leo is to have fun. And so something here is saying, I want to have fun, right? And it's really interesting because this card, each time when it comes up, I'm like, what the heck is going on here, right? She's like, she looks like she's, I don't know, she looks like she's sexually, something is going on here, right? She's a leader who has risen and taken her place on a wheel of fire. And so upright, she has become a leader or winner. She experiences a burst of fire and creative energy, which is like an affirmation, a big yes. And so, yes, you want to play with the sexual energy, because the 10 and the 6 is the 16. And the 16 is the Towers, Mars. It's like, yes, I am right out there. I wanna experience my sexual energy in a new way. And so I think this is what's talking here. Your sexual energy is really important right now. Then speaks the High Priestess, which is your intuition. And the intuition brings you the 7 of Swords. And the 7 of Swords is that doubt, right? You're doubting something deep within you. Mentally, you're doubting the 7, right? When we add the 1 to the 6, then you have a 7. If I add the 1 to the 6 here, then again you have a 7. And the 7 is here also in the corner, the 7. And the 7 is the emotional intelligence that is letting you know that here can be a 7, right? And here is a 7. But with the High Priestess, we get a 9. And the 9 is, again, the completion. A completion in the way you intuitive work with the swords. And you see these swords, they are pointing all up here. And it's the Lord of unstable effort, right? There are different types of swords, different type of thoughts. And so the emotional intelligence here is getting challenged. And of course, remember, this is connected with Moon in Aquarius. And guess what? Pluto is in Aquarius right now, and it's your planet. Then it will go back to Capricorn for 2 months, but by the end of November, it will stay 20 years in Aquarius. And so there is already something, right? Moon in Aquarius, something is occupying your mind, you are a little not sure, but remember, with your intuition you have a 9. Then speaks the Empress, and the Empress is giving birth to you, the transformation, and the 13, and you see that you are ready to go to the left. The 13, again, remember, you can now make a 4 out of this, right? The 4 and the 3 is again a 7, so you have a 7-7 portal, and you also had the 7 here in the corner of the pleasant girl, right? So the pleasant girl is something that you feel is pushing you to learn more about yourself, understand more what it is that you want, because the Empress is giving birth to the 4, the 3 and the 4, the Emperor, right? The masculine and the feminine, and that's what exactly the Lovers are telling you. You got to unite the masculine and the feminine deep within you, and then you are really powerful. And so the emotional intelligence is saying yes, then you feel that in the love and in the beauty, even though the shadow side here of Pluto is coming and also the mystical side, it is still here the Empress that is saying, well, this is what a relationship does. A relationship transforms us, changes us, and we cannot change it. Then speaks Gemini, the Lovers, and says, then the 9 of Swords is coming. And that's the nightmare, right? That's Mars in Gemini. And so Gemini is bringing you Mars, the color red, and 1 bird, and the 8 birds are black. And remember, the 8 right here, remember that you understand the 8, but the 9 is the liberation, and you had the 9 here, the liberation, right? The 7 of Swords plus the High Priestess. The intuition is telling you, do not go into your inner doubt or not being sure, or also feeling like a victim. Stop being a victim, right? And she's crying, and it's almost like saying, well, you gotta observe and watch what's happening here, because the 6 and the 9 is the 15, and the 15 is Capricorn, is the devil, is the attachment or the cut off of source. But remember, you can create a 6 here out of it, right? The 15 calculate together is the 6. And the 6 is the Lovers. The Lovers says, well, love yourself, then you don't have these nightmares, right? And you can get yourself out of it, because there's 1 bird that is helping you to get out of it. Then speaks Odin, right? The King of Cups. And here comes the Hanged Man, which is Neptune. And Neptune is also the deep, deep dream world, the deep spiritual diving into, and he is pointing at the Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man is the 12, and the 12 is the Wheel of Fortune and the High Priestess. And so you see the High Priestess has brought you the Swords. So observe the way you think, observe the way you use your mind. And so the 12 and the 8 is a 20. And the 20 is the last judgment, the calling to awaken, not be stuck in nightmares, to awaken, and to know that when you hang upside down, and he is hanging upside down, you see that? He's pointing to the rune alphabet, and now we have here the Hanged Man. It's almost like do inversions. The more you do inversions, the more you liberate yourself. And then, of course, we also have here the 8 and the 3. And the 8 and the 3 is the 11, again, the inner teacher. So you can pick 20, which is the last judgment or the calling, or the 11, the inner teacher that is telling you, well, you gotta wake up now. You gotta awaken. And if you don't awaken, it's something will come to you and will wake you up. Then speaks Scorpio, and the Ace of Swords is pointing, look at this, is pointing at this mountain. It's almost saying that this mountain is important. And the Ace of Swords is the spiritual thought, and you had 7 swords, and now you get 1 more sword, you have 8, and 8 swords is like you trapped, but you also have 9 swords, right? And so I forgot to calculate these together, right? The 9 and the 7 is the 16, is the Tower. So something is saying you gotta let go. You gotta let go of this excessive thinking. The 16 is the Tower, is Mars. Now you have the 16 and 1 more is 17. That's Aquarius, and that's where Pluto is. Pluto is in Aquarius, and so you need to learn to think in a new way, because Aquarius is an air sign, and an air sign thinks a lot. And so this is saying you need to learn to be totally present, and one thought is all you need. Presence, right? Meditation, connect with the one thought. And so the 17 becomes the 8. And the 8 again is that infinite. The 8 is again the pleasant girl. So the 8 of Pentacles, right? Which is, of course, connected with the constellation Sun in Virgo. And so have one thought. That's all you need, because altogether you have 17 swords, and that's the 8. And 17 swords is Aquarius. And Pluto is in Aquarius. And he's going to stay for 20 years in Aquarius, right? And you had the 20 years. So you better learn this. This is important. The 8 and the 12 is the 20. 20 years. You're going to have Pluto in Aquarius. So you need to learn to be sharp. Then speaks the moon as the moon oracle, the dream oracle, and here you have the dream thief, the refusal of the call. Now what's interesting is the number 13. And the 13, right, that's you. You gotta learn to really listen to the call. When the dream is telling you something, listen to it, because you had that one thought, and that's coming on the position of the moon, right? The moon, Scorpio in moon right now, or moon in Scorpio, is telling you focus on one thought, focus on it. So the 4 is happening here, and I wanted to see why are you refusing to listen to the call. And the Fool is coming up reversed, and the Fool upright is like standing on his hands and has the Amnamita muscaria, and he's a wild one, and he is connected with Uranus, and Uranus is actually ruling Aquarius, and Aquarius is now really telling you, hey, you need to understand what Aquarius can do to us. Aquarius is intense. Aquarius is an air sign, right? And you had the 9 of swords, which is Mars in Gemini, and so there is something pushing. But remember, you had here the 1 sword, and so here the 13 turns into the 14, and the 14 is the full moon tomorrow, right? Because the full moon is going to be in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is temperance. Be temperance, because here we have Jupiter in Leo, right? And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So understand. So the 0 is reversed, and that's why you're almost like you don't want to start this new cycle. It's like something is blocking you. Something is saying, no, I don't really want. But you have to, because we have the 4 and the 9, and calculated together we get the 13, and the 4 is left. So you need to become an emperor. You need to rule with one thought this world, and understand how important that is. Then speaks the Sun, and the Sun is bringing you the inner core. The number 18 which is connected with the moon, right? The moon is 18. And so the moon is saying, hey, here the inner core is the liberation. When you go back in, when you are not seeing that there is something that is pushing you, because the 18 turns into a 9, the 19 is the 10 and the 9, the 19, and the 10 is left. 10, a new cycle begins. You gotta listen to this new cycle, but I wanted to know, what is this liberation bringing you? And you get the 7 of Pentacles. And so the 10 and the 7 again is the 17. So Pluto in Aquarius is bringing you quite intensely an awareness about the way you think, about how thoughts can really push your buttons, but you gotta just learn everything about how you can control the mind. And it's important because here we had the 9 of Swords, right? Which is Mars in Gemini, and Gemini is right now the Sun in Gemini. And so you see that here is something talking, because you get the 17 again, and she is ripe. Look at her, she's like pregnant, and she's pointing to the left. And it's like these 7 and these 7, there's a 7, 7, and here a 7, right? Remember? So the 7, the emotional intelligence, is clearly saying to you, you gotta wake up, because you also had the 7 here, the 13, and the 4 is the 16, and the 16 is the 7, right? But I can also do 3 and 4. The 7 is again here as the emotional intelligence, as the Chariot, as the connection to your emotions, and to learn everything about it, and how much you need this liberation in your head. But at the same time, you also feel that you're pregnant with something, right? Because the 7 of Pentacles is Saturn in Taurus, and we just had the Sun in Taurus. And so here the Sun in Taurus brought you someone maybe who is pregnant. Maybe you have a situation here with this pleasant girl. And then the world is bringing you the High Priestess. So the 21 and the 2 is the 23, and the 23 is the 5. The 5 senses, the hand that is saying, observe and watch, and look what's as a circle around her head, the rune alphabet. Remember the rune alphabet? You are pointing at it. Odin is pointing here at the rune alphabet, and now it's like a circle around this girl, and she's literally like, yes, I know the magic of the rune alphabet. It's really important. And so we have the 5 here, and the 5 is always understands the 5 senses, understand that you can, through these 5 senses, get attached, and you need to liberate yourself. And so now when we close the reading, you see why you're offering your love, because you have come to a deeper understanding of your intuition and how to work it. But we also need to put this in between, right? And so I'm just gonna put this down, and we have to understand now that the 8 of Pentacles and the pages, right, is this link, this person that is letting you know that you gotta make amends with the way you give the love back to yourself. And we have here 7 Pentacles, right? And we have here 8 Pentacles, and that's 15 Pentacles. And 15 Pentacles are letting you know that this is again Capricorn, and Capricorn is, you get attached maybe to money, or you get attached to this person that is pregnant, right? It's this way to the left. And so here we get the 6, and the 6 is then here Gemini, and Gemini is saying, well, Gemini, this month is going to teach you something important, because here we have the 5, here we have the universe, and we have the high priestess. She knows what to do with Saturn, because this is Saturn, right? The universe is planet Saturn. And so here we have the 15 and the 6, and then here again, you as a young person, you have understood something, and so you will give this love out to the people, because it's something that you almost have to do. It's something that the world is asking from you to do that, because we have the 5 fingers, the 5 senses are what attaches us to this dimension, but our intuition, our third eye, is where the light is. And so you get the high priestess, and the high priestess was bringing you the 7 of swords, and the 7 again, the emotional intelligence that you're learning now by being a pleasant girl. Maybe you are becoming a pleasant girl. You are becoming someone that's loving and caring and bringing this cup of love out into the world. I hope I see you in the next reading. That's when we get the sun in Cancer. And Cancer is the 7, the 70 here or in the corner, the 7 also here, right? And the 7 here, the pregnancy. So maybe you are pregnant. Maybe something here is speaking about a pregnancy. Until then, I thank you so much for being with me. Namaste.